West Coast Woman Power presents the Empowerment Podcast with your host, Alexis Taylor Middleton. Alexis Taylor Middleton created West Coast Woman Power to share in the traditional Mayan and Cherokee teachings of self-realization, empowerment, and personal wisdom through shared stories.
In honor of the unceded traditional and ancestral territories of the Coast Salish people, the Stanaas, Stanemo, and Stanemus nations. Welcome to West Coast Woman Power. I am your host, Alexis Taylor Middleton. Today's podcast has to do with mental health, and this is regarding attempted suicide and respecting people's boundaries. Quite a while ago, I have known several individuals, some very dear to me, who have attempted suicide. And I actually know of some who unfortunately did commit suicide, and an incredible life-altering experience for myself as somebody who was in these individuals' lives, some on the periphery, some very closely connected, and it left me feeling helpless, wondering, why did this happen? What could have I done to prevent it? Let me make it clear right from the start. There's not a whole lot that one can do for someone if they are absolutely of the mindset that that is what they need to do. I would love to say that I had the right words that could have been said, and I was left feeling a lot of guilt and great sorrow. But the truth is, after a lot of contemplation, many conversations, and some of the teachings that I share from the elders, if somebody wants to move forward with a decision, it matters very little what they hear. Now, we can keep saying, I support you, I love you, I am here for you. There was a mom who shared with me about her daughter who had attempted numerous times from when she was 11 up until she was 32. And the daughter said to her mom, there's nothing that you're going to be able to tell me. I feel like I don't belong here, and it hurts me to be here in this body. And the mother and her came to an agreement that the daughter would do nothing until she absolutely had exhausted all resources, and would, if she ended up going to that next step of actually attempting and following through, that she would be near her mom so that the mom could honor her. And that's exactly what happened. The daughter was in the family home. And very traumatic. I had a very long conversation with the mom, and she said actually that she had a sense of peace because she and her child had come to this consensus that this was the avenue that she really felt had to be taken for her own life journey. And the daughter was willing to honor the mother's request of being close at hand if she ended up following through. The mom was told that there was nothing that she could say, just to be present, just to be available. If there was a phone call or a hug or anything that needed to be. What I learned from this conversation is when somebody is hurting very deep inside, please know that the kindness and the compassion and your presence is very important, but it may not always be enough to take away whatever ails them inside, whatever is hurting so deeply inside. And for those who attempt, I wish that a big overall hug and loving words could ease that sorrow or that pain or that frustration that that person is going through. And there's different components to look at. One is that we must never judge what that person is going through. If they are attempting or have attempted, we must never, ever judge them. We have never walked in that person's shoes. We don't know what they've encountered or what they're fighting from inside of them. The other thing is to recognize that it's what often we are left with as the support for those that are on the support side, the family that is there or the friendships that are there, where we have these warm, loving feelings to the individual that's been suffering so deeply that they want to make this choice to attempt or to commit suicide. And I have with me a wonderful young man who has been in the support side of a family member. Quinn, welcome. Welcome to West Coast Woman Power.
Right on.
Thank you very much for being present. I understand there was a time that someone in your inner circle had attempted suicide.
That is, yeah.
How has it made you feel? How has it sat with you over time, this happening?
Well, because it's an attempt, it only makes you, me, over time, more grateful for the person every day that you get to, whether it's you get to share with them or you just get to share that day being alive and know that they're there doing their thing and breathing and being healthy and all that. That only makes you feel more grateful just to just be there, I guess. Yeah, just be in that moment because you know how easy it can go.
Have you had a chance to have a completion around the event?
Completion in what regard? I'm not quite sure the whole.
In terms of that the event had occurred, how does it sit in your body now? Where are you with it? I understand that you have this really beautiful perspective, but how does it sit in your body physically?
I gotcha. I'd say that it's not like it's not a scar, you know? And if it was one, it'd be, yeah, it's not a scar because it's something that's helped me because it's like, yeah, it's not a battle for sure because it's not something I look at and it just makes me think about the bad or this or that. No, it's just, like I said, you know? I think me saying in your previous question, just being grateful, like, you know, I've been able to move through it, you know, knowing that they're around and that it's all good because, like I said, it can go that easy, right? So to hang on to it, and then I guess completion would be, for me, like if you hold on to it in a negative light. Because if you hold on to it in a negative light, then whatever that might be, because that can be different for a lot of things, right? For me, it would be like constantly getting depressed about it and going down, like letting it take you down and whatnot, even though like you definitely made a point of stating how you don't deserve it, right? So you might be connected to them, and just because they went through it doesn't mean that like you deserve to encounter that experience, right? It just is the way she goes. You can't let it take you down too. And that's way easier said than done. But for me, how I get through that and how I guess gained or got completion is just being grateful. And me knowing that I'm grateful just because of like, I think about, I reminisce about past and I think about the present and how they're good. Like I've been saying, they're alive. They're doing their thing. I mean, to ask for much more, I think you're asking for a lot.
I appreciate the wisdom that you have brought on this subject. It sounds that gratitude for the individual who has survived and is living their day-to-day, and for the experience of knowing them at that time or continuing to know them is what brings a sense of peacefulness.
Yeah.
Would you mind sharing, now that you are in this place of calm and feeling more whole from this experience that had happened regarding the attempted suicide from this family member, would you mind sharing how it affected you, how it impacted you at that time, what the struggle became?
Struggle became just, I guess, thinking about what you can do, you know. Oh man, it happened. What could I have done, right? I guess, yeah, what you could have done. What you could have done to make it, to have prevented it. And I guess, looking back, you know, it's a lot of the things that around this kind of topic, it's way easier said than done, right? So everything, but that's part of the topic, right? That's why these things happen, is because it's easier to just say it than it is to do it, you know? Just be happy. Anyone can just say that, right? So the reason I said it's easier to do things is because I guess for me is I would just think about how, you know, it is easier said than done. And I guess it's like, it's funny, but Nelson Mandela, he said that it's only impossible until you do it. And so, I mean, it can go two ways in this conversation, but for me, my takeaway is, you know, they got through that moment, and it's crappy and it doesn't feel good for you because you're fighting through all this pain. Like I said, what could you have done? But you're also thinking like personally, like, oh, what I could have done and how I can be better going forward. And so, I don't know, like it sucks. I mean, you almost lose someone in your family, right?
You had this experience in your life, this trauma, and you have come away from this stronger and with a perspective that has allowed you to move forward.
Yeah, you know, it's a good question to ask the negativity, but you can't look at things in a negative light. Because if you do, then you enable them. You enable it to take you down. And so that's not saying that it's not there and you don't think about it, because that's just being ignorant. Because it's obvious that things are going to happen and it's going to be crappy. But it's about making that impossible possible and persevering through. And so you got to know that you can make it through.
What I appreciate very much is you sharing so candidly. What would you suggest to people who have experienced people that they care or love very deeply, having gone through this? What would you say to the individual who's on the supporting end, who's been traumatized and could be in shock? What would you share as a way for them to move forward?
Everyone's going to experience it differently. So it's and it's easier said than done. So
you have shared something that is really intense that happened to you, And you have offered a perspective that one doesn't necessarily consider. When a trauma happens of this caliber, of this nature, you may have experienced the heaviness of this moment, but you have been able to transform it into something quite positive, to the point of actually appreciating where that person is in being alive, and that you are present to support as is needed. And for this, I'm very, very grateful for the time that you have shared and for offering a very enlightened way to experience a situation such as this. Quinn, thank you for offering a supportive experience, a supportive point of view. This concludes our podcast. And to remember, there is always hope. There is always hope.